So, for the record, would you like to give us your name and your age and where you live now?
Eileen McEnery.
Your age? Just keep going like we've been talking.
And I'm 85.
And where do you live now?
In the L region, Guelph.
Did your family settle in or near the Ballinafad community?
Not my family.
What?
Ernie's family.
Ernie was your
Husband.
So did they come as pioneers, as
No.
beginning settlers? Do you know about what year they came to settle in Ballinafad?
1936. Ernie would have been a lot better at this.
Do you have any relatives still living in the area?
Just David and Marge McEnery is all I can think of.
How did your family make a living after they settled there? On the farm or otherwise?
Well, Ernie's mother made gloves at home for the Story Glove Shop in Acton, and his dad worked in the glove shop in Acton. And they farmed.
What kind of farming? Did they have grain or
Mixed,
cattle?
just mixed farming.
And did you end up helping, looking after the farm?
Yes, I milked cows. The usual.
Fed chickens?
Yes.
Your family is not still farming, but the farm is still in operation, isn't it?
My family.
Yeah.
No, my brother sold the farm.
Okay.
And the house and the barn have been burnt.
Oh.
And the other house that Donnie built, they were growing marijuana and the house is spoiled. I guess it was a big grow.
Where did your family and Ernie's family come from before moving into this community?
Well, Ernie's family came from Acton. But my family stayed on the farm. And they were still out in Asquith.
Well, this is the nationality thing. Where do you think you put yourself? Canadian, Scottish, First Nations mixture, Irish? Could you tell us?
Canadian.
But you have?
I have Irish
Roots.
way back.
What church, if any, did your family go to? Was the
Ballinafad United Church. You mean Ernie and I?
Yeah. What do you know about the McKay family or Fallbrook Farm?
Well, I just knew them, that's all.
Did you visit with them? Or go to school with them?
No, I didn't go to school. Ernie didn't either. Ernie went to Acton School.
And what school did you go to?
SS number 4, Nassaquan.
And whereabouts is that?
In Halton County. And the school's still there.
It is.
Yeah. It's a house.
Did you ever hear of a First Nations or Indian village somewhere between Fallbrook and Scottsdale?
No, I don't think I ever did.
You were married? Into which family did you marry?
McEnery.
When did you get married?
September the 8th, 1945.
Just after the war.
Yeah.
Did either you or Ernie have anything to do with the war?
No, he was farming and
So he was protected.
so he didn't
Have to go.
Well, his dad was crippled with polio from when he was 16.
Oh dear.
So they either had to get rid of the farm or if he went to war.
Yeah.
Because his dad couldn't.
And the farmers were too valuable to...
Pardon?
And the farmers were too valuable.
Well, yes, because they needed the food and
Yeah.
so...
How did you meet your husband?
At a dance at Edgewood Park in Eden Mills.
So, did you just go there one night? Or was this a center where you went regularly?
Well, yes, that's in the days when you didn't have to go with a boyfriend. You could go and have you picked. And so a bunch of us would go, and that's when I met Ernie.
So did you go every Saturday night, every Friday night, once a month? Or?
It was on a Wednesday night every 2 weeks. Yeah, I had to work and get up the next morning. But that wasn't terrible. Had a good time.
Who did you go with?
Well,
Who were
in
the girls you
those
went
days, there was a chap, 2 or 3 different chaps that had old cars, and you paid $0.25 to get a ride there. It sounds pretty silly today.
It sounds pretty good idea, I think.
Yeah. And sometimes the old cars were pretty.
Do you remember the names of any of the guys that did the chauffeuring?
Well, Kelvin McIntyre was one. Harvey Hearn was another one. I don't know whether you want that on the video.
Just for interest.
Yeah,
Harvey. What was Harvey's last name?
Hearn.
Okay. Do you have any children?
Yes.
And their names are?
Bill and Carolyn.
What are their ages?
Well, Bill he'll be 63 in February. No, wait, no. He was born, yeah, that's right. He was born in 47.
Yeah.
63 in February, so he's 62 right now.
And
Carolyn is 60.
And you have grandchildren?
Yes.
And their names are?
Barbara, well, I better give you Bill's. Tanya and Travis. And then Barbara, Heather, and Katie.
Are they settled down in Ballinafad or have they moved elsewhere?
Carolyn is over just outside of Acton. Bill's in Alberta, Spruce Grove.
Can you explain why they left the area?
He got married. And when Bill got married, they lived in Georgetown. And then they moved out west.
And Carolyn? Did she...
Well,
She married from home.
yes.
What work do they do now?
Well, Carolyn is still working for the sign shop in Georgetown. And Bill is with Cummings Transport in the office, I guess. Yeah.
Ballinafad was a farming community. What kinds of farming did you remember?
Mixed farming. Well, for ourselves, was mostly mixed farming, I think.
What businesses were there in Ballinafad over the years that you remember? What businesses? What
Oh.
was carried on?
Well, there was the chopping mill that Jim owned, and the store that, well, Eddie Smith, when he was there, and then of course it's changed hands. I don't know the name of the person that has it now.
Neither can I offhand. Too many names.
Yeah.
What were the main social activities that were carried on in Balnafad when you and Ernie were hanging out there?
Well, there was the dances in the old Balnafad Hall, real old hall, and we put on plays, and they had showers and presentations for the ones that got married, and then if somebody was burned out or something like that, I think they would have a benefit dance or something.
What about the garden parties?
I remember one, but I don't remember much of any garden party.
Has the church been an important part of the Balnafad community over the generations?
Yes, I think it's been an important part of the Balnafad.
Were your family active in the church?
Yes.
Can you tell us what roles you played and your children played?
Well, the children went to Sunday school, and Ernie and I were in the choir, and then through the years, then I forget what year it was, they needed an organist when Myrtle Black left, and I took over then. I only thought it was temporary, but you know, these jobs.
Just volunteer for an hour, right?
Yeah. I had to move away to retire. That was okay, though. A lot of fun, too.
Now, I have heard about what would you call it? A wagon, a cart, a trailer, a float that you used to sing from.
That was for Canada Day, I think.
Only for Canada Day? Because I've interviewed Reg French, and he apparently was the last person to store the float before it passed on to higher duty.
That wasn't for the booth we used to take to
Yes.
to the fairs.
Yes.
And the steam show in Milton.
Mm-hmm. Would you tell us about that?
Well, I don't know how on earth it was quite a lot of work. And Mrs. Snow made the booth. And so we used it for a few years. And of course that money went to the Institute, and we helped, the Institute helped build the new hall.
Tell me about the Institute.
Gosh, I can't remember the year it was. Of course, there used to be an institute there years ago, and then it disbanded. And I can't tell you what year it was for. Now, if you had Grace McEnery, she was great in the institute. She'd have all that information, but she's gone.
Fortunately, we can access the Tweedsmuir histories.
Yes.
So I have been looking at those.
And where is the Tweedsmuir history?
The Tweedsmuir histories, I believe, are in the Wellington County Archives and Museum near Laura.
Yeah.
And they are online. Now, if your kids are interested in looking them up, you just Google Wellington,
Yeah.
and you can read the histories. And there are some pictures, but they're very, very poor quality.
Yeah.
Because they're digitized from old pictures that aren't very good to start with.
Yeah, they're not very.
But from what I understand, the Institute was quite a driving force for the women and vice versa.
Oh yeah, they were. We had a lot of members at one time, and it just
Like all things.
the younger people got working, and they were in the Institute.
Do you have any particular memories of membership in the Women's Institute?
Gosh. I don't know whether it was the Women's Institute. No, I don't think it was. I can't remember just, well, we used to have to go down and entertain in Milton at the seniors, what do they call it down there?
Nursing home, retirement home?
Well, yeah, down, what's the name of that place down there? And at the Bennett Center in Georgetown, we used to entertain there. And things like that. And of course make cookies for this and that.
And pies.
Oh, yeah. Yes, for the plowing match, and when we catered to it, took a booth there. Oh, gosh. Well, we used to make a whole bunch of pies, we got together and made them. And things like that.
Would you make them in somebody's kitchen, or would you go make them in the hall?
Somebody's kitchen.
Yeah.
Don't know whether you can do that now or not.
I don't think kitchens are big enough anymore.
No.
You know.
There's a lot of institutes disbanding.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Why do you think why do you think it's happening? What are the things that are causing people not to be interested in the Women's Institute anymore?
Well, they're working. Oh, most of them are working. And I don't know. They're just not that interested. I don't know why. But it just seemed as if you couldn't get any members.
Do you know if they ever tried to have evening meetings instead of during the daytime?
Yes,
I
think we did have some. Well, one thing, they were all getting older and the younger ones weren't coming in. And but we had most of them in the daytime. But we could have had them at night if we got members and had them at night.
What do you think was the biggest contribution of the Women's Institute movement
Well,
to particularly the Balnafad area?
I think the health of people, I think they learned a lot of things through the Institute that was valuable. And they learned how to sew, some of them, and there was a 4-H club that we sponsored, and things like that.
What was the hardest part of living in that area?
I don't know. Maybe never making enough money.
That's one of the things that counts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, do you have any funny stories about life in this community? Who were some of the more interesting or amusing characters? Do you have any memorable stories that are not necessarily
Well,
funny?
I don't know whether you heard this one about the church. They're having communion. And 2 women had put the bread out and the wine the night before. And then when it was time for the bread, we went up and opened bread, and there was nothing on the plates but mouse turds. That went in a magazine right across Canada. Mr. Johnson was the minister, and he stood up there and he said, well, because of circumstances, we won't be able to serve the bread today. Catherine French said, I know we put that bread out there. So that was one of the funny ones. Well, then we had, you probably heard about old Pete and Dunk Ferguson that had the blacksmith shop for years there. Funny old pair. Better not put that in. But they were a little different.
Tell me why. Their vocabulary, perhaps?
Well, I don't know. They're just, they like to know who you were and all that sort of thing. And yeah, when I first moved out there, I thought they were rather different, all right. And there was, you know, there was Hank Smith, and he had been a homeboy, and he worked around at all different farmers and that sort of thing. I don't know. Oh, there was different ones. Can't even think of some of their names. Jerry Kentner, he used to help out. The farmers would hire him for
If you could wave a wand, sort of thing, and improve the community, what would you do? How could it be improved?
I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know. Okay.
Not today, anyway.
What did you contribute to this community, and how has it enriched your life?
Well, I think it was a very a friendly community. And when I first got married, you know, everybody was, I didn't find it hard at all to move into the community. And I don't know what else to say. It was a happy place to live.
Good. Thank you very much, Eileen.